Welcome to another round of GM Tips. This is GM Rick here. One of these days I'll catch up with Nerdarchy. I was looking at all their videos they have out. And by the way, Nerdarchy guys, big thumbs up for all you guys have done for the gaming community. I don't know if you guys have watched Nerdarchy. They got the fun quirkiness of gamers that I just love. It's part of what I am, and their sense of humor just kills me. I love it. And we've got so many people out there on YouTube that have done a great job of really just discussing GMing, gaming in general, and how to design things. Um, and I really want to, just appreciate those guys in a deeper way and really share a little bit about each one. I think Dawn Forge, great group. He's really put together a lot of wonderful videos as well, and just takes on things. And I've looked at a few of theirs and really appreciate them. The Humble Fumble. I know they're mostly audio, but they've done a great job, and I've really had a great chance of interacting with some of the wonderful cast there, and it's been fun to really get to know them over Twitter. And they're a really great group that has a lot of fun. They're definitely hard to NC rated in the language and sometimes the concepts, but oh man, it's just hilarious. I mean, if you're adult and you enjoy adult humor while gaming, oh my gosh, it just will have you in stitches. Wouldn't recommend it for teenagers and down. I know you teenagers want to watch it. Yeah, wait a little bit. I know you'll shoot me on that, but oh well. Uh, they're just a lot of wonderful people. Matt Mercer's done some more with his stuff and putting out more helpful tips with his videos. Um, I could just go down a line and litany of them, but those are just a few to name a few. There are many, 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 many more. Just keep that in mind. There's a lot of people out there, and the YouTube community as well as the podcast community just continues to grow, and I really appreciate that. I know I jumped in kind of midstream about almost a year ago now, and I've enjoyed it. And I hope to make many, 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 many YouTube videos for you guys. And sooner or later you're going to get sick of all my things with Jack Skellington and Olaf and my little mecha girl up there, and then the portrait of the wizard and the red dragon with Kim and I on it. So I know you guys will get used to the little bit of the digs here, and hopefully as time goes on, I'll look into better mics. I mean, one of the things we talked about with Humble Fumble was the Blue microphone series, and I love Blue Microphone, great company. And just high-end quality. It's very broadcast quality, but the prices on the consumer end of things are really reasonable. They're within the $100 to $200 range, which for a good audio mic is really very reasonable. I know it's hard to afford, but when it comes to that type of quality you're getting from Blue Microphone, just a great mic. I know because I supported them as a customer, and those guys in Shure Audio both do great mics and great headphone sets, and there's many more out there in the industry, but those are the two of the ones that I've really supported and I really appreciate. So into the topic. Today is how to design a memorable and three-dimensional NPC. So I'd say definitely memorable and three-dimensional, because so often with our background story and what we create as GMs, some of us put really good effort into designing the NPCs and really fleshing them out so that characters can get to know them, and they become a real part of the story. Um, Others spend a lot of time on the story and not as much on the NPCs, and they just flesh them out as they go. And I don't think there's any wrong way of doing things when you're GMing, either way. One of the things I really appreciate that was put on by the Dawn Forge group is they were talking about designing a great campaign, and one of the things they talked about is having your players being a part of that. And I think as GMs, it's the same way with NPCs. I think sometimes we're real open-minded to allow the cast to dictate which NPCs are going to be really fleshed out well. Sometimes we just flesh our own out and make them a part of the story. Either way, I think the biggest thing at the end of the day is as long as the players feel like they're the ones writing the story, I think at the end of the day, you're doing a successful job as a GM. Because really, that's what it is. It's not your story. It's not all the work that we do, and we do. I mean, believe me, we put in endless hours as GMs to really, and DMs, to really make a campaign special. And I think sometimes we're appreciated and sometimes we go unappreciated. And that's just part of life. Again, at the end of the day, if you allow your characters to write their story for what their play or their PCs are doing, you have succeeded as a GM. And it's true with the NPCs. All you can do is flesh them out, but at the end of the day, they're going to write the story of which NPCs are doing what. By the way, Mini GM, you guys are used to her probably by now in the background. She is animated. She loves Toy Story and some of these other ones, and she got to be Kiki this Halloween, and she was so excited. You guys just don't even know. This little girl couldn't have had a bigger grin on her face, and she couldn't have been happier. And I know my kids were that way when my older two, when they got their Halloween outfits, they when they got something they really liked, they were pumped. When they didn't, you could tell. But Minnie G was definitely very excited to be Kiki, and we got her and Kim got her the Gigi doll. Gigi's the black cat. And the broom, and then the purple dress or a purple big shirt that looked like a dress, and then the bow, the red bow to put on her head. And she just is like, this morning comes out, where's my Kiki outfit? And it's just so fun to see how much she loves that. And it not expensive, but fun. So, sorry, got off track, but it's something that was kind of cool for me. So, a great NPC. Let's take a look at how to make a memorable in a 3D NPC. And I think one of the biggest things that goes into it, and I put as number one point, an NPC has goals just like a PC does. They have goals in life. And I think as GMs with any NPC, if we know they're going to be a potential integral part of the campaign, write down a couple goals. And even if the players pull one in and start making them recurring, that's something you can do after your session. Goals drive what motivates and what causes that NPC to interact with the players. Whether it's as a villain, whether as it's a reoccurring helpful point, whether it's a shopkeeper they keep going back to, or maybe a guild that they go to get jobs, or somewhere they go to get advice. Maybe it's at a temple and they go in there and keep coming back to the prelate of the temple, or the abbess or abbot of the temple, and they keep coming back for those memorable sessions. In order to make it extra memorable, put in goals. And those goals can be aligned with the PCs. They can be in direct opposition of those PCs. And the great part about it is it's going to form the interactive process that you have with those PCs. And it's really going to form an interesting relationship. And I think some of the best relationships, perfect example, I'm running a campaign in Pathfinder, Reign of Winter. And in this case, I put in an NPC shopkeeper in one of the major cities that the party wouldn't have met otherwise. It was my own creation. But again, they're going to go to shops. They're going to try to shop. They're going to try to sell goods. So I put in a Chelaxian or Chelish out of Galarian. Galarian has different empires. The Chelish are a empire that turned away from the god of mortals to, after his death, the diabolism of the different devils. Diabolism. And so it's a diabolical empire, and this particular shopkeeper epitomized it. And he had his little imp, his female imp there, and it was hilarious because they go into the little interactions, and sometimes he would handle the party, sometimes the imp, she would come over and handle the party on his behalf. And it was epic greatness because she's a contracts devil imp, So she's looking at ways to tie the party into a contract. And just the interactions, and you can see these neutral good clerics and war priests of these deities dealing with this little imp. And normally they want to just exterminate her. And they're having to deal with her and look at her as she's the lesser of the evil because she's allowing them to get items they normally wouldn't get. And they got a pretty fair trade deal, honestly. The guy, the shopkeeper, liked them enough. They intrigued him enough, and they were great adversaries in the negotiation table that he said, "Sure, I like this. I love the interaction. I love the banter. I love just showing them some interesting wares and getting some interesting wares that I normally wouldn't get." And it turned out to be a very memorable experience, and they love going back to him, and they miss them. They miss him right now because they've left that city, and boy, they wish he was still around. Now, there's maybe other ones that come along like that that are memorable. And that's how I want my NPCs. I want them to have goals. His goal was to bring back to the Chelish Empire oddities that would put him in greater favor with Abigail Thrune, the second, the ruler of that realm. And it's a jockeying of power and position and prominence in that empire. And so he wanted things to bring back from his journeys that would give him that ability and to rise within the empire itself. So again, the players may run into him with different characters somewhere down the line. You just never know. And I've kept him. He's got his own Hero Lab character sheet. He has classes. He has a personality. I've written stuff in. And you know what? I don't regret it because these players will always remember him as part of the adventure, though he had no major significant role to the story itself other than helping the players. And that's what we forget sometimes, I think, as GMs, or I know I do, is the NPC sometimes makes more impact than the story itself. And if you've given them just a fun interaction, they want to come back for more. And they want to keep coming back to that NPC because that NPC is kind of a fun distraction for them outside the storyline. And a background, not just goals, but number two, a background. What is the background of that NPC? Just like you write up characters when you're a player and their background, why not do it for your NPCs? Why not give them a history and a story? And as the players get to know them and understand that story, they can greater influence that NPC because they understand where that NPC is coming from. They're not a cardboard, one interaction type of NPC. They're somebody that they want to get to know the history of and why they're there and how life affected them. That's the kind of NPC that you create that really has impact. Um, and I hate to say this because it sounds so I, what do you call it? Oxymoronish, or no, not even that. That's not an opposite. It's more just stereotypical that I would use this word. An NPC needs to have character. Yeah, I know. Get a few laughs out. But he is a character. But she is a character. But they are a character. But it is a character. Yes, but it has character too. And what I mean by that, it's going to have nonverbal gestures that people can interpret. You, as the GM, you make the gestures, go out of your way to become this personality and have unique gestures for them. Quirks, ticks, little things that the characters can, even tells that the characters can go, is that a tell? Are they doing something they shouldn't? Are they lying to me? Or are they being overly honest and this is bothering them? Those are the kind of things that characters know. An accent. You can go with the Varisian accent and try to do these things and make sure you have the Varisian accent. Or the Chelish accent, where you have the aristocracy in your voice. Or maybe um, the Taldorans, and the Taldorans have their own type of accent. Or the Mwangi, so let's go in the Mwangi. Umboto is in the Mwangi expanse, and he must know these things or Kishra. She must know the things that are there. We are a people, a tribal people, and we must know these things. Again, I'm not perfect in my accent. Some of you are laughing your rear ends off right now, and that's okay. It's the fact that you gave them an accent at all that draws the party in. Even if they snicker, it's okay. That's the best part. If they are snickering, then you've done something enough to really get them going, and they'll remember that, and they'll mimic it with you. And that's the greatness of doing the story, is getting them involved and plugged in, um, having idiosyncrasies, things that bother them, that if the players do them, it just kind of grinds their axe. And those are the kind of things, or are faux pas, little faux pas that they don't even know they're doing. Those are the kind of things that you really want to incorporate into your NPC. Why is that? Because they are a living, breathing creature to the players. She is a living, breathing entity that brings life to the campaign as a priestess, or as a high Wiccan witch of the coves, or as a druidess, or as a wizardess. She has that prominence. He is a um, captain of a ship, or a swashbuckler, or a loutish rogue. You see where I'm going? They have idiosyncrasies to them that make them what they are. Um, Having a recurring role. I think for anything, one-time NPCs make a campaign a little bit, but they're not near as memorable as the ones that just keep coming back. How about the bad guy that, or bad gal that keeps coming back? Um, Everybody's talking about nasty. I'm a nasty woman for the political campaign. What if you were a nasty NPC? There we go. That's going to be my new catchphrase. Are you a nasty NPC? And really, and I hope you guys use it, please. If you guys use it in the tweets and in the Facebook rooms and say, I'm a nasty NPC, I would love it. It would get me laughing, and I promise I'll catch it at some point and comment that you watched the video. But you got to have that nasty NPC that just keeps coming back and keeps messing with their minds. And I love the mind-bending NPCs that just get under the skin enough that bothers the players every time. They want to just chase them down like a fly that is irritating with a fly swatter, and just swat them. And they really, really do. And those are my best kind of NPCs, are the flies you want to swat. And so, it's part of the fun. Now, don't get me wrong. If they influence or dominate an NPC, I let them take over that NPC. And I'm having fun. I let our sorcerer take over this werewolf wizard that they ran into as a baddie, but he's dominated them. And he continues to just influence the dominate over them. And this guy just keeps helping him out as long as he doesn't get. And he's not pushing him to any direction that guy wouldn't go. So there's no reason for him to try to break the domination. He's just happily following this guy. Now he's chaotic neutral, the guy who's controlling him. So, he doesn't care what the paladin or the rest of the party thinks about this guy. He's a useful asset. And he's playing him right because he doesn't want him to try to break the dominate, because you don't want this guy turning back on you and trying to wipe you out. I love that. I love when somebody is clever enough to just keep control of the situation. And it's great role play in my mind. Influence. What kind of influence does that NPC have? Are they semi-influential, not influential, kind of influential? Oh yeah, they got a lot of influence, and boy, I really do want to know them type. What are they? What is that influence? Where is that influence? And that's where things you got to map out a little bit. You don't have to go real crazy with it. But especially, think about it. We network in real life with people. And as we network with people, those people introduce us to more people. And they have influence with other people. And they may have influence with other people. And it's that network of influence that has a lot of impact. And so, you know, as you build your network of influence, and as that NPC has influence, you want to note that, because that's something that maybe he or she like, or she or he, let's go backwards in the other way. She or he may turn around and use that influence to introduce the party to other people they wouldn't have gotten to be introduced to otherwise. So, and I am going to start using she more than he. That's one thing I'm going to do. Ladies, I am sorry. I don't give you guys enough due, or you ladies. Sorry, I don't want to call you guys, because I know sometimes that grinds people's acts. And I'm sorry. I don't mean to. It's just little idiosyncrasies in me that I'm used to using those as gender neutral, and they're not to people. They see them as genderized. I use a lot of male terms as gender neutral. I don't mean that in any way to be negative. So please understand, I came up in an era that, fortunately, I had two sisters to influence me. It's made a big difference in how I see the gender roles, and how I appreciate the ladies and what they really do in a good way, not in a chauvinistic way, but in a good way. Because let's be honest, without having the women in gaming, we wouldn't have half the creativity we have. There's so much creativity that comes from the female designers, and I really appreciate all your work and hard work that you put into it. And you've changed the industry. You've made it a better place, honestly. It's great to see more and more women-run companies. I love it. I think there's just a whole dynamic there that a male run company just doesn't have. And I really appreciate what's brought to the table. And so, influence. There you go. Uh, what kind of banes or boons do they have? And this is a term I'm taking out of Pathfinder, but it's usable in any RPG system. A bane is something just horrific that they can bring down on you to make your life misery, and can just influence you for the rest of your gameplay. That's a bane. A boon is a favor or something they can bring to the table that will help you and enhance your influence in other places, or it can help you in your whole campaign, that may be campaign specific, that helps you throughout the campaign. For a good example, a, the party came upon a camp of Rusalka, and Rusalka are the northern centaur tribes, and they influenced the daughter of the tribal leader so much that the tribal leader got to like them, and his boon was to say to the shopkeepers, you will charge them 20% less than what you would an outsider. Well, it comes from the mandate of the leader. You better do it, otherwise you're going to get in deep trouble, even if you're an outsider yourself. So the party has benefited from lesser prices and have not having to negotiate, and they don't. They just go in and love that 20% discount. It's just to them a huge deal, and they can run around and hold that influence, and they don't have to say a lot because it's already known. It's been passed through the tribe that you will treat them with that dignity as if they were a fellow member of the tribe. So, interesting stuff. And then a character sheet. You got to write out a character sheet for these NPCs. I know we sometimes, and I see it done in modules. Bob Smith, Nicola Valencia. So Nicola, she has a little thing by her name that says female, what race, what alignment, and then what classes and what level. I know you're letting, and the designers, it's easy that way. Then you let the GM flesh it out however they want, or DM flesh it out however they want. That's great. It's also a pain, but it's great. I understand. You're writing a lot of material. The last thing you want to have to do is write out 70 character sheets for NPCs. Not a fun adventure. And it takes up a lot of space and a lot of print room. So it's not an economical thing. Um, so it's up to us as the GMs to flesh these people out. And they'll give us a little bit under the tips. They may mention some things about the personality and some things that give us a little guidance, but it's up to us. So instead of seeing this as a negative, see it as your chance to write your name on that adventure path or on that campaign. It is your chance to define them. So you get to write out their stats, you get to do all their feats and other things they may have, and traits and other characteristics. And as you flesh them out, so say you're doing a cantina keeper out in space. And the cantina keeper is kind of a unique little wheeler and dealer and a black marketeer. So you want to put in all these things. So you put in if they have classes in your system, what classes they are, if not, what type they are, or how they influence. Then you pick the characteristics that go along with that help to influence those things. Certain skills, certain feats, certain other abilities, maybe a certain type of race. And all of a sudden, this comes to life. And they're this unique thing. I mean, think about it. From the Star Wars Cantina, can you remember all the characters? I remember the guys in the band playing the different musical instruments with a little antenna. They were very unique looking, and some of the other ones, and then of course Boba Fett was there, and also you had our giant slug, um, and I'm just gonna blank on the giant slug. He's the one that wanted Leia, Jabba the Hutt. See, I'll get it eventually. It'll come to me. We remember these characters. Why? Because they weren't just bit players. They played a part. And that's the thing about fleshing them out and having a character sheet. You want them memorable, something that they're going to take away and say, this is a memory. This person has influence, especially if you have a character sheet. They know that that's a recurring player or NPC, and they might go to them more than if you don't. And if you don't have a lot of information, I hate having to, and I've done it as a GM, jot down notes about what they did with this shopkeeper to try to keep things together. Instead of having something already set out that I can use, and I know, okay, they've been in here, but that's okay. There's other things we can, bring to light. So keep that in mind. You really want to make a character sheet. And yes, it's a lot of prep, but maybe once or twice a week you take an NPC you haven't fleshed out and you flesh them out. It's not that much time, really. It's about 3 to 4 hours for two of them. So go ahead. Put it all in there. Hero Lab will let you call them up. The great thing is you do like the encounter table thing, and you can bring up all your NPCs and have them there at a moment's touch, so you can go back and forth between them. And it gives you all the roles and all the abilities. Once you go into the in-play screen, you can go there, and it allows you to do all these things. And it's great because you're able to work with things and influence things. You can cast spells and do everything else, and I love it. It just lets you have some real control over things. That's why I recommend Hero Lab. I normally didn't. I remember when I first kind of went, why do I need it? And then I got it and I thought, why have I not had this in my collection for a long time? People go, well, it's a lot of money. Yeah, but for organization and what it lets you do time-wise as a GM, once you have it, you're going to go back and say, why haven't I had this all my GMing years? Because this is really useful to me. Keep that in mind. And it has a lot of systems. I mean, it doesn't have everything yet, but there's a lot of systems on there. So go look. I mean, I know that Savage Worlds is on there. I know that uh, Vampire the Masquerade's on there. I know they also have Shadowrun. So it's available for a lot of the popular systems, Mutants and Masterminds. It has a lot of the popular systems, and they work with it, and it's great. 5e and, of course, Pathfinder go without saying. They have both. So again, in looking at a great NPC, you got to have goals. You got to have a background. You got to have character. What are they like? How are they? What are their idiosyncrasies? What are their quirks? They got to have a recurring role with your players. They definitely have to have influence of some sort, even if it's a little bit of influence, even if it's commoner influence, even if it's just influence within their own building. They have to have some influence. Banes and boons, that always makes them much more attractive to the players, especially if they can help them out. And then a character sheet with real information. If you do these type of things with your NPCs will be very memorable. And a lot of it goes into how you play them. Think of them as your characters as a GM. I know some people say, well, you're not supposed to have characters as a GM. The NPCs are your babies. They are your characters. You are playing them as if you're playing a character. Keep that in mind. If you play them like that, you will have a lot of fun with them. I've got a recurring NPC that the party has adopted like a mascot. Remily Fairhaven, the pixie swashbuckler, they love her. She is their mascot. She goes into the battle with them. She's just a chitter. She's a little talker. I don't use all my gameplay to play her, but when I do play her, it's hilarious. The party just kind of rolls their eyes, go, "Oh my god, Remley, just make it shorter, shorter sentences," because she's like, "Ba-la-la-la, ba-la-la-la." And I do it like this. "Oh yes, look at this. Oh wow, it's so cool. Oh, and the queen over here, and my lady did this," and they're like, "Okay, Remley, it's all right, calm down." But then when the battle comes, she steals up, and they're like, this little, this tall individual is fiercer than like a giant. She will go into the battle. She's not stupid, but she will go in with the zeal of, I will protect my fellow friends and I will sacrifice myself if necessary. I don't want to, but if I have to, I will sacrifice myself for the greater good of the cause. They love that about her. And they love that she's not averse to doing some little questionable acts. She's not evil. She is neutral good, but for the greater good, she will do some things sometimes that call to question. So again, do you have these type of NPCs? Are they there? Are they working with the party? Do they help the party? Are they recurring? Are you really giving them the three-dimensional look that they should get? Keep that in mind as you go into your play. If you do these type of characters, you yourself as a GM are going to have a lot more fun, and as a DM, just depending on which system you're playing. But it is really a lot of fun to do these type of things. So thanks again. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Look, I wouldn't have a GM tips without all of you. I appreciate everybody who subscribed to my YouTube group for this. If you haven't, please do. I love the comments. Please keep them coming. I do take them into account. As you guys can tell, my audio's gotten better since we started out. You guys can hear me now. I've got a clearer picture. We're going to get to the day that you're going to look at me and I'm going to have the grade that maybe a Matt Mercer has. You're going to go, holy crap, he went from that to this. And that's kind of how it works. So I hope everybody has a great week of gaming, and please continue to bring more and more people to gaming. It is a great place to be and a great hobby. And take care.